8th day of May, 2018, and aboard we go here on a busy program here on Mad Dog Unleashed on this early May afternoon. Good weather, and away we go now. As far as springtime sports is concerned, we're all set now in a couple of big opportunities almost set in a couple of semifinal opportunities in both the NBA and the NHL. We obviously have things going on in baseball, which we'll get to here momentarily. We also have Eddie Erickson and Colin Schmeling with us, too. Mad Dog, 888 Mad Dog 6 is your two-way sports talk telephone number, and a great Sirius XM 82 on this nice Tuesday afternoon. Good to have Steve Torre. Came back from vacation today. He'll be gone later in the week, but he came on today, give us a couple thoughts. Good to have Steve in the house here. Bill Zimmerman is here as well as we chat to you about what's cooking on this busy afternoon. Well, listen, we can do Cavs and Raptors, and not yet. We could do Caps and Penguins, not yet. We can do Predators and Jets. Not yet. I don't think anybody wants to talk about Utah or New Orleans and their opportunity to extend the Western Conference semifinals into a sixth game. So today, on this 8th day of May, where it's 70 degrees out with some sunshine, we're going to revisit the best rivalry in sports, and that is, of course, Boston and New York. Red Sox and the Yankees, which start a three-game series. First trip in for Boston this year at 161st Street and River Avenue in the Bronx. At the, it's not the old Yankee Stadium, but where the grounds where Ruth played in 1923 at Yankee Stadium. Obviously, both teams are playing well. Both teams got off to great starts. Both teams obviously played an early series in Fenway, and the Red Sox won 2 of 3. Listen, this is the best rivalry in sports. There's nothing in baseball that comes close. The Giants and Dodgers lost some juice when they went to the West Coast. When they played here for 50 years in the same city, that was a different story. It's not quite the same Giants and Dodgers in San Francisco and L.A. The Cubs and Cardinals are very overrated. Very rarely are they both good. The Cubs and Cardinals might be big in those two cities. It doesn't resonate across the country. I know they like to think it does, but it does not. You could talk about Ohio State, Michigan in football, but they only play one game a year. And it's a little bit more Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler than it might be Jim Harbaugh and Urban Meyer. Alabama, Auburn is good, but only really good in Auburn. Sixers and Celtics are pretty good, but it's the NBA. It's not Wilton Russell. It's a little different. Sixers, Lakers, and Celtics have always been historically good, but they don't play that many times as far as the NBA final is concerned. Plus, the Celtics win half the time, more than that, 90% of the time. So I'm not going to go there with that. There are some football, Raiders, Chiefs, Green Bay, Chicago. Take your pick in the NFC East. There's a lot of different ways you want to go with Philly, Dallas, Giants, and the Redskins. You can do a couple different things in the NFL if you wish. You can come up with any kind of combination, Ravens and Steelers. You could do something any way you want. You have to be careful, though, because a great rivalry is when a team, when two teams actually split. It's a great rivalry is not domination, folks. A great rivalry is when there's equal winning on both sides. And that is the problem with some of these rivalries. Everybody in Michigan wants to make a big deal about, Harbaugh and Meyer. Well, can Harbaugh beat him once in a while before we go crazy there? I mean, the Cubs for 100 years stunk against the Cardinals. So let's not go crazy with that. Now, North Carolina Duke's a great rivalry, but it is college basketball. They never meet in postseason play where, the loser goes home, like they have, of course, sometimes in baseball. It's a regular season rivalry. It's a great college basketball deal. They're 8 miles apart and everything else, and they got great history, but they have never, ever met in the NCAA tournament. So I'm not sure where you want to put the two of them into the equation. So to me, the Yankees and Red Sox, and for a long time, and really for 100 years, the Red Sox never beat the Yankees. It wasn't until really the last 15, 20 years where I think the rivalry kind of amped itself up based on the fact that the Red Sox became very competitive, and the Red Sox finally beat the Yankees in historic fashion when they were down 3-0 in 2004, won their last 4 games, and beat New York at Yankee Stadium in Game 7. And just a footnote on that, I had Joe Torre on TV today, and he said something that I had never heard said anywhere. And maybe in old age, Joe is starting to reminisce about that series an awful lot because obviously he's on the short end. And the only team ever to come from 3-0 down was Boston against the Yankees. Joe said today on television, it's fascinating, never heard it. He said that he wanted to go to the mound in Game 4, ninth inning, Yankees with a 1-run lead. He brought Mariano in the 8th. He said, I didn't want to fool around. I wanted to win this game right now. I wanted to win game 4, not hold off to game 5. That's why I brought Mariano in. And he said when Millar led off the bottom of the 9th inning, which fueled the Red Sox comeback as he walked, he was about to go to the mound, and he, just to tell him, don't get fancy here. Just go after him, blah, 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 blah. Don't get too cute, short wall and left, Fenway Park. Just go after him. I was going to remind Mariano of that. But I got to the top step of the dugout, and I turned around and sat down again because I remembered earlier in the series, Mariano struck him out on 3 straight pitches. So I did not want to give Mariano anything extra to think about prior to that at-bat with Millar. What happens? He gets cute. Millar walks. Next thing you know, a stolen base hit Bill Miller, tie, and before you know it, the Red Sox win 4 straight. I had never heard Torre say that he had wished he had gone on the mound prior to the Millar at-bat in that 9th inning in Fenway Game 4. Never. And Joe said that today on television, which I thought was fascinating. Anyway, the Red Sox and Yankees is what it is. I mean, so the first essence of a rivalry is to have both teams be great. And, obviously, over the last 15, 20 years, the Red Sox have won 3 championships. Nobody has to talk about the greatness of the Yankees, whether it's 2009, whether it's 96, 98, 9, 98. Ruth, DiMaggio, Garrick. I mean, nobody has to talk about the Yankees have to prove to anything and anybody. Plus, outside of that period there, and it was a bad period, between 65 and 76, the Yankees have always been pretty competitive. I mean, they were awful then, and they were awful in the early 90s. But generally speaking, in my lifetime, the Yankees have been pretty damn good. I mean, they were very, very good in the championship. So in my lifetime, the Yankees have been good. So we don't have to worry about the Yankees doing their part to maintain the rivalry's intensity. We do have to worry, and for a long time we did with Boston, but they have now since, almost eclipsed the Yankees as far as titles are concerned. I mean, they got 3 titles this century, and the Yankees only have 1 or 2. They won in 2000, and obviously they won in 2009. So the Red Sox have more championships in this century than the Yankees do. So we don't have to worry about that. That's the first essence of a rivalry. Both teams be good, and both teams, of course, this year are beyond good. We'll get to that in a minute. The second thing you need in a rivalry, you need the fan base involved. You need hatred in the fans. You need hatred with the stands. You need, you don't like fights. You don't like alcohol-induced altercations. But with fan intensity, that ratchets it up the whole deal. And with the Yankee fan and the Red Sox fan, more so with the Red Sox fan, who always has hated the Yankee fan more than the other way around, sort of like the Giants and Dodger fan. They've always hated the Dodgers a lot more in San Francisco than they have hated the Giants in Los Angeles. But you need the fan intensity to be at its peak. And although it's wavered, since the Red Sox have won, because there's not as much jealousy up in Boston or New England with the Yankees, it's still there. I mean, there's no way around it. The Red Sox fan likes beating the Yankees more than he likes beating the Detroit Tigers. And a Yankee fan still likes beating the Red Sox. So it still is, it's got that simmer that you like. So that's obviously the second thing you need in a great rivalry. I think proximity is a third thing. I think that builds to it. Michigan, Ohio State, not that far apart. Obviously, Cubs, Cardinals, not that far apart. Giants and Dodgers played in the same city for 100 years. North Carolina and Duke, 9 miles apart. Philadelphia and the Giants and the Redskins, not that far apart. All right, Dallas is far apart, but, still. Giants, Eagles is close. I mean, Raiders and Kansas City at least have played in the same division forever. You need that too. And so from that standpoint, you have that with Boston and New York basically being, a 3.5 to a 4-hour car ride apart and, maybe, 180, 200 miles. So that helps. And you have that going on with this rivalry. And then, of course, the last thing you need with a rivalry is you need both teams to be good a lot at the same time. That is very, very important with a rivalry. Now, for a long period of time, that has not been the case with the Boston Yankee rivalry, and I think that's hurt it historically. I mean, in the 50s, the Yankees won every year. People were sick of it, and the Red Sox were a second-division team for the most part. In the 60s, the Red Sox got a little better, but then the Yankees, 67, for instance, but then the Yankees were atrocious. So that was a problem. And then, the first half of this decade of the 70s, the Red Sox got good, but the Yankees were not there yet. The Red Sox got to the World Series in 75. They should have won the division in 72. I mean, the Red Sox got pretty competitive, but the Yankees weren't there yet. And then, of course, after 75, it was essentially more Yankee-oriented than Red Sox-oriented. Although the Red Sox, obviously, 77, 78 were excellent teams, but the Yankees were really good there for a long period of time. And then later on, the Yankees were terrible in the late 80s, early 90s, and the Red Sox were good, winning divisions and all those kinds of things. So a lot of times these franchises have not been good at the same time. They were good at the same time in 49. They were good at the same time in 48. They were good at the same time in 50. They were good at the same time, now good. They were good at the same time, to a large degree, 75 through 78. They were good at the same time. The Yankees were not near the Red Sox in 86. Good at the same time in that period with Torre and Francona, but not all the time have these two teams been good at the same time. Now they are. Red Sox were 17-2. Yankees were 9-9, and then they lost 2 out of 3 in Fenway, and then they turned around and won 18 of 21 games and did their job. And they got right back in the mix. These are by far and away the two best teams in the division. And outside of Houston, maybe by far and away the two best teams in baseball. This is what baseball wanted. Baseball wanted the Yankees and the Red Sox. I have a lot of people who have told me quietly that the commissioner's office did not come down hard on the Red Sox for stealing signs last year up in Fenway. Remember the watch stealing thing and everything else? They did not come down hard on the Red Sox because Manfred loves this. Back page, television, ESPN, Sunday night. It provides juice in two huge markets. So if he comes down last year and goes crazy and suspends people left and right, it tampers down the rivalry instead of ratchets it up. Now listen, he can suspend Joe Kelly and Tyler Austin. Who cares? You don't mind that. Let them throw at each other all day. They're two has-beens. I mean, they're no big deal. So he'll do that all night. But a lot of people think that he didn't go crazy in that scenario with the whole thing with the sign stealing. He likes that byplay. He likes that discussion. And I think, listen, that fuels these two teams and these two front offices, although I think they have a lot of respect for each other, they don't trust each other. And baseball loves that. Baseball is going to have enough time, enough games this summer where the Orioles are going to get stampeded by Boston, where the Blue Jays are going to get stampeded by the Yankees, and they're going to have enough Tampa-Baltimore games in front of 5,000 on a July night in Baltimore that they're going to have to live with that because they got a lot of historic, horrendous teams. I mean, they really do. I mean, baseball this year, the Orioles are on pace to win 38 games. The White Sox are on pace to win 43 games. I mean, the Royals stink. I mean, the Reds are beyond bad. I mean, there are a lot of horrendous teams. And baseball is going to have to deal with that all summer long. But they have the Yankees and the Red Sox. They have this. And this fuels the sport. And there's nothing like in a long 6-month, 162-game regular season where, games are endless. The season is monotonous. It never ends. There's nothing like a midsummer, if you want to characterize early May as midsummer, intense 3 or 4 game series between these two teams. Now, the Giants and Dodgers, because of the schedule makers who are lost, somehow figured out a way, the schedule makers this year, to have the Giants and Dodgers play 10 times before we get to May 1st, which is what they've already done, which is really hard to believe. That the Giants and Dodgers, the Dodgers don't visit San Francisco again until the last weekend of the season. Think about that. They do not go to San Francisco again until it's October. And everybody's talking Rams and Niners. While the Yankees and Red Sox have gone down that path again, as we all know, have done that as well, where they play too many games early and there's nothing available late, which obviously hurts the rivalry. This year, it's a different story. Because this year, the Yankees and the Red Sox play an awful lot of games against each other late in the year. I'm going to just characterize that real quick. All right, they play this week at Yankee Stadium 3 games. The Yankees, they don't play again until after the All-Star break. Wow, that's pretty good. The next time these two teams play is the Yankees go to Fenway for 4 games in early August. And then the Red Sox will go to New York twice let me see when they play in September. They go to New York on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. And then the Red Sox will host the Yankees the last weekend of the year. And the Red Sox other trip into New York, which is important to tell you when that is. Well, it is. It's in late June. So, all right, they do have a series before the All-Star break, but at least they play plenty of games. 7 in September, 4 games in August. At least they have at least 3 series in the second half of the year. And these teams are good teams. I think the Yankees are a little better. They have a better bullpen, and I think they got a better lineup. I think the Red Sox might, and it's an if, I might give the, and it's an if, I might give the Red Sox a tiny edge in the starting rotation because I don't trust Sonny Gray, and not that Rick Porcello is Jim Lonborg, but I might have a little more faith in him. And Price is the guy that, if he pitches well, is excellent. While I don't think Tanaka, I think Sale and Price have the capabilities of being better than Severino and Tanaka. That doesn't mean they are, but I think when they're on their top shelf game, and Severino's been great, but they might be better than the Yankee top 2. And I don't like the Yankee, I don't like the fact that it's Gray, Jordan Montgomery, and I don't want to hear about Herman, and CC Sabathia rounding out that rotation. So maybe, and it's only a maybe, a tiny edge Red Sox starting staff, Yankee edge bullpen, Yankee edge lineup. Yankees are better than the Red Sox. I can make an argument right now that the Yankees might be the best team in baseball. The Astros starting pitching would concern you against the Yankees because they got better starting pitching than the Yankees do. But I can make an argument. Yankees just beat them 3-4. I can make an argument the Yankees are the best team in baseball. But I'll tell you one argument that nobody can make. This is the best rivalry in baseball and in sport. 20 after the hour, we continue. Mad Dog.